Alright, so I'm going to show you how to finish up your sampler weaving. And remember, you should have 3 rows of the rayon knot down there. I'm going to pack that in. And you're just filling up. This was the last required up above, and then the Rhea was the very last one. Don't forget to look back at your packet. You should have regular tabbing. You should do about twice as much as I did there. You should have the slit, the buttonhole. You should have interlocking. Remember where the weft goes like this. Then the dovetail where the weft goes around the same warp thread. Inserted weft. Supplementary where you do 2 different colors. And then the Rhea or the Raya down at the bottom. The shag, the fringy part. And then any space in between there. You can just do tabby. You can try some other things. Practice some of the ones you like the most. Try some of the alternative weaves that maybe that didn't require, but you need to fill up that space. And you may start finding that it's a little bit trickier to do because it is getting tighter. And at that point, you may need to really think about how you're holding your needle. I'm going to pack that up higher, pack that down lower. So I'm actually weaving in between there. But as you're weaving, so I went over this one, tip it down and then tip it up. So you can rotate, actually change the way you're holding your needle. So you're kind of tipping it down and then tipping it up. And that can be easier to pick up those warp threads as you're weaving, since it's getting pretty tight through there. But again, really pack that up a little extra tight at the top. Don't forget, don't pull really hard on the sides so that you don't end up having that that hourglass kind of effect. But it's almost like I'm scooping up the warp. Now, as I'm grading these, things that I'm going to look for. You'll get marked off if you have very much of that hourglass effect. If you don't have all of the required weaves and inserting methods, if you didn't go over and under, if you kind of skipped and you went over, under a couple places, like if I left right there, this looks really bad. That's kind of an uneven pack, and it both rows were over and under the same ones. So I'm going to pack that in pretty tight. Watch those ends. So I think I can go back and forth at least one more time, and that probably will do it. But each required type of weave and other assorted, like the interlocking and the dovetail and the inserted weft, you have to have all 7 of those things that are from the list. You don't have to have the Egyptian knot or the sumac. You can. You do not have to. I think I can go even one more. You need to make sure that your name and period is on the back. You also need to make sure that you've labeled all of your weaves and required connections. Oh yeah, I can still get one more in there. So it's nice as I pack that up, I don't see my warp thread anymore, which is a nice bonus. Remember, at least 1/2 inch of each required thing, and then so 1/2 inch to 3/4, but you do need to completely fill your sample board. But the remainder can be with tabby, because you need practice with that anyway. Okay, so I think this will be my last one. So I'm going to end, kind of split that, because I don't want any the same over and under. If I need to, I can even reach underneath there to pop that weaving up a little bit. This is getting pretty tight. Pull that over. Again, I want to watch that. And then I can kind of even that out a little bit. Now, if this were your actual weaving, we would also tuck all of those ends in. Now, I taped some of mine on the back with just Scotch tape. I'm going to undo those. Oops, this one. Okay, so I've got all the ends there. I'm going to unpack that just a little bit more. But again, on the back, I need to label what each of the different types is. So tabby, slit weaving, interlocking, dovetail, inserted weft, supplementary, and this is the Egyptian, and then that's the sumac, tabby, Egyptian, tabby, tabby, and then the Rhea knot. Okay, so those should all be labeled as they relate to the front. Okay, and then also make sure your name is on there. On your actual weavings, you would also, with a smaller needle, you would also go up through, or reference this as the channel or the tube. You'd run those. You'd run a needle up there, and then you'd add the ends, and you'd slide that in. But we'll talk more about that later. I don't have one of the smaller needles with me. So that's basically your weaving for your sampler, not your real one. And this should go at a pretty quick clip. You don't want to take a week to do this because that's a week you don't have on your full weaving.